how do you deal with, meetings, and is there anything you can do on your calendar side of things? Because I feel like there's a lot of people out there who, and including myself, I would try to segregate a lot of the creation time from sort of like the meeting time when you're sort of interacting with people. And there's a lot of stuff that the world demands of you because they're expecting you to do something for them, but then you can't focus because you're trying to figure out, well, I need to get stuff done now for me, and I don't want to be interrupted by exogenous factors, whatever, like meetings and all that stuff. How do you deal with your calendars?
So this is a really big one. I would say this is maybe possibly even the most important one for me personally. Like my life really started to change for the better when I started owning my calendar. Like, because I don't remember who said it, but it's always stuck with me that either you own your schedule or your schedule owns you. And there is no third option here. So what that meant was I needed to start thinking about my calendar in a different way than I had previously, which was there's two times that you can really be doing stuff, right? You have what I guess Paul Graham would call your maker time versus your manager time, right? And they're very different parts of the brain. And if you try to intermix them, you're going to be constantly frustrated. So what I did was I took my schedule and organized it so that from about whenever I wake up, which is usually sometime between 5 and 7, usually closer to the 5 side, until about 1 p.m., my calendar is completely blocked off. My assistant, nobody can schedule anything during that time. That time is what I call my 3 to free. And those are the time when I'm working on things that are the most important that only I can do. And so that's usually creation. That's usually scripting or writing or doing whatever it is that's like my unique superpower. And so I don't let the world really get in my way, so to speak, until I've allocated that a time to creation. From 1 onward, because I don't typically do my best creation work in the afternoons, I take a nap, I get tired, and then like it's just a different side of the brain that's more active in the afternoon for me, at least. That's when I do my meetings. And so if there's phone calls to be had, if there's investor calls, if there's team meetings, it's always going to be in the afternoon, usually between 1 and maybe 5 o'clock. And then at 5 o'clock, I go usually and do some jujitsu. I do 2 workouts a day, usually 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. And then in the evening, kind of winding down, maybe get another hour of work in, and then start winding down before bed at like 10. So within that schedule, I'll take meetings between 1 and 5 o'clock. But my preference is to group those as much as possible onto singular days. So I try to group all of my team meetings, all of my business meetings with like recurring on Mondays. And then also on Fridays, we have some recurring end of week meetings. And then if there's ever like podcasts or just random phone calls, we try to group those, say, on a Wednesday, right? So when I wake up and I know, like I look at my schedule for the day, I know, okay, this is my meeting day. And that just helps me because I'm not a super extroverted person. I'm not a very eager conversationalist. It takes a lot of work for me to go into a phone call and like talk to strangers. And so it just helps me if I have like 6 calls back to back on one day rather than maybe like 2 here and 2 there. And if you, for me at least, if I schedule a call at like 1:30 and then another one at 4, that time between those 2 calls kind of gets lost a little bit because I have a really hard time like getting deep into a task, knowing that I still have this other thing brewing. So I try to keep those, once I get started, just keep flowing through them.